Here, appreciate that. I know some journalists aren't here. They're probably traveling back from London, so we appreciate those that were there and appreciate you guys back here for being here. First of all, just congrats to our players and our coaches for a great win. It's a tough win over there against a very good football team, but our guys got the job done. I'm proud of them for that. To the fans that were there was a lot of great fans in London. Ravens fans from really all over the world, and a lot from Baltimore, too. I can't tell you how many fans after the game we saw, and they're like, from Baltimore, Coach, from Baltimore, you know, and they were excited. So, and also fans from different places. It's really cool to see how many Ravens fans are all over the world. It was exciting. And then a salute to our staff, Simon, Keith, people that you don't even know, that just did such a great job. Joan, Megan, all the different people that did such an amazing job to make the trip out there as best as it could be for the players and the coaches to focus on football and getting ready to play the game. So just really happy about that. And for Steve Bisciotti, Steve and Renee, both, for what they do for us in terms of doing everything first class, so we can do things in a way that just gives us the best chance to be as good as we can possibly be. So it really shows up on a trip like that. With that, what questions do you have?
John, you just acknowledged all the work that goes into that trip, and there's so much discussion about going earlier, going later in the week. But the other side of that, for the most part over the years, teams have generally had their bye, with some exceptions, including you 6 years ago. What do you do differently this week, if anything, to try to get guys reacclimated to being back in Eastern time?
Well, that's a great question. I don't really know that we have any definitive science on that, but we're going to just get back to business as usual. We're going to try to get back on our schedule. I think coming this way is kind of a good thing. You're used to getting up, because you're ahead of time there. So we'll be back at it tomorrow afternoon with our guys doing what we do. They're going to get a chance to sleep all day today if they want. They'll get a good night's rest tonight. They don't have to come in till 12:15 on Tuesday, and then we'll be pointed toward the Lions.
There's been a lot of interest among fans about the ejection call on Kyle. Kind of wondering what the standard is, I guess. Is that something that you've given more thought to, or is it something you'll ask the league about? What kind of where are you on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, she certainly will ask the league about it because you just want to understand what the parameters are. I think really, basically, generally, it was definitely a flaggable penalty. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It was helmet to helmet. The one thing I do know is that Kyle certainly didn't intend to do that. He was coming over trying to play the ball, and their helmets hit, so, and it was forcible, so it should have been flagged. Beyond that, it's really a judgment call, whether the officials on the field make it or whether it goes back to New York, which is my understanding it did in that particular case. It's a judgment call on their part, and they make it, and you just live with it. That's what it is. So they'll explain it to us, I'm sure, and they had their reasons for doing it, and that's the way it went, and we accept that.
If we could go back to December of 2020, you're basically cut Gino Stone, and now he's become this huge part of this defense. How has he changed from that player to this player?
Well, it was kind of a numbers game at the time. We still liked him at the time, and then we brought him back right away, when he became available again. So I don't think it was ever a thing that we didn't like Gino, but he's definitely developed into a heck of a player. He's grown so much, Bo, since those days, and he was a good player then, but man, he just getting his opportunity. I think it's a good example of someone that, takes care of the details on a day-to-day basis, comes to work every day, does his best, doesn't complain, doesn't get all caught up in things. Why is this not happening for me, or that's not happening for me? Then when his opportunity comes, he's prepared and he makes the most of it, and that's something that it's just great to see. And it's a good lesson, I think, for young people. If they're going to watch, hey, I want to be great at something, or I want to be a pro football player, watch Gino Stone and what he's been doing.
With Gino, is it just about him having patience and now his opportunity has come, or has he done something differently recently that's made him be able to not only step into the role, but excel in it?
It's a great question. More than just patience. Patience, yeah, sure, it's part of it, because understanding that you don't determine when the opportunity comes. But the fact that you do determine what you do to be prepared for the opportunity when it comes. And what he's done every single day, which is work as hard as he can, be coachable, and to try to be his best one day at a time. Then when the chance came, he was ready for it.
Have you gotten a sense on Marcus Williams with the hamstring, if it's going to be something that's going to keep him out a little while? And I guess just for him, how disappointing, he's already dealing with the pec to work his way back to that, and now dealing with this.
Yeah, it's for Marcus, it's challenging. It's kind of like it's how it goes sometimes. And he was trying to block on the return, the Gino's interception return, and got kind of hit sort of from behind and on the side, and that kind of made the hamstring strain. Not a long-term hamstring, but hamstrings are finicky, so it's not going to be a couple of days. It's going to be week to week probably. I think he's going to be real iffy for this week, and then after that, we'll see where it goes.
John, regarding not opting for the bye, you talked about getting back to business as usual. What went into that decision originally to not have the bye week after this intercontinental travel?
Yeah, well, it's not our choice. The way it works is they'll call every team and say, hey, these are the options that you guys might be looking at. What would you prefer? We can't guarantee anything, but what would you kind of rather prefer? Would you want, in this case, early bye or late bye? And so it's not really a decision that we make so much. It's like, would you rather? We didn't really want to have a bye too early, but they gave us the late bye. It was and an early game in London, so that's just the way it worked. We like the later bye. The early game in London is what it is. We're playing the Lions. It just turns out, arguably the best team in the NFC right now, playing great football, and so that's where we're at.
John, you talked yesterday about how to be more efficient in the red zone, probably the quickest path to that is to be more efficient in the running game, especially on the power runs. When you looked at the tape of the game, did you see a pattern to why things didn't work as well in those situations, or I don't know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any one theme. It's always little things here and there, but we were running into some big fronts there. You know what I mean? We tried to spread them out. They didn't cooperate quite as much in terms of spreading out, and then we didn't. They did a good job. They're a very good front. I mean, they've got some very physical players. The whole game was like that. They are a physical, tough run defense. We're going to see as or more this week against the Lions. So we're going to have to do a great job of game planning all across the field, red zone, outside the red zone, run pass options, play action. All that stuff's going to have to be really well organized, and we're going to have to be prepared because we're going against just as good a defense or better. So it's part of that. We've got to do a great job of game planning down there and setting up the plays in a way that we can try to find some advantages for ourselves.
The pass rush has been really consistent really all year. Just wonder if you could speak to why you think that is enhanced by the fact that you guys are getting it from a lot of different people.
Yeah, probably, Cliff. It is probably because it's a lot of different people. We're getting pass rush production from everybody. And a lot of times it was pressures early, which I think you'd mentioned a couple times. Now it's pressures and sacks. The sacks are starting to fall in place, and I think we'd spoken about that in terms of they come in bunches sometimes. So we want to keep the sacks coming. They did a great job yesterday morning in terms of finishing off those sacks. Getting the quarterback on the ground is kind of the last straw. And even when the quarterback broke out a couple times, whichever quarterback it was, Tannehill or Willis, our guys were able to chase him down. So that's what you want.
Have you been able to get any other updates on any of the guys who left the game, like Urban or Harrison or Seymour?
Yeah, Urban had some stinger issues, so they'll be looking at those today. Who else?
Seymour and Harrison.
Seymour, don't know too much more about. It's not going to be overly serious, I don't think. Harrison, Malik, concussion protocol. He's clearing very quickly on that.
John, related to the edge rushers, and if you were asked over in London, I apologize, but is there an update on Tyus Bowser and his availability and/or Owe?
Owe's looking close. Ajabo gave you some information, so I feel more free to kind of comment on that. But he's decided on that he's going to get himself back from that high ankle sprain, and he had like a sprained knee, I would say. So he's going to be in the neighborhood here in the next few weeks. Tyus, I'm going to let Tyus comment on that. So that's gotten a little more complicated over the last couple of weeks, and really not at liberty to talk about it right now. But at some point in time, I'm sure we'll have an announcement on that one way or another. He's got to make some choices and decisions.
But we've talked a lot about guys who've made the most of their opportunities lately. Justin Madvige, one of those guys briefly as well. What have you seen from him that has allowed him to be in this place right now?
Kind of like Gino, I just think Justin is just a very determined guy, and all he does is come to work every day and work as hard as he possibly can, go along with this amazing amount of talent that he has. His motor runs hot all the time. He just plays so hard. He's so physical. And, then all of a sudden, boom, a few plays happen, and you start to notice him more. But he's been playing like that all season.
Is there anything about the U.S. you missed during your week away?
You, Jerry. I missed you. Where were you? You weren't there.
How was it for them?
The king was asking about you. The food was good. I tell you, Sarah Snyder and our people did a great job with their people, and it was great.
John, would you like, I know Kei Mitchell plays special teams, would you like to work him into the rotation with Gus and Justice Hill over the next couple weeks? Understanding he's a rookie and still trying to get him active.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to be active now, possibly. He's got to earn it every week, sure, but he played well on special teams, and he's done a good job in practice on offense the last 2 weeks, so I'm sure that Todd will be looking for opportunities to get him involved.
I don't know how much film you've been able to watch over the last, all of your travels, but did you see anything particular in the red zone situations that maybe the Titans did to the production down there?
Yeah, watched it all, obviously. Some of it last night on the plane. We had a long flight, and then some of it this morning. They didn't do anything different, if that's what you're asking. They ran their defense, and it's a good red zone defense. We just didn't get it done, you know, and I say coaches and players together. We've got to do a better job of game planning, a better job of executing, you know, and we can do it. I mean, we've had great success in the red zone, and then we've kind of had a drought here. So it's a long season. We're capable of being great in the red zone, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of success going forward, but we've got to find it. We've got to make it happen.
Now that you're done with the whole experience, do you feel like it paid off to take a completely different approach to going to London this time? I mean, did it produce the result that you wanted to produce?
Yeah, wisdom is in the results, right? I mean, that's part of it, but I also feel like, to really answer your question is, I think it helped us. I think it helped to be out there, to get acclimated, to get the bodies right. I mean, I think people go to the Olympics, right? And the Olympics are somewhere on the other side of the world. They don't go out there 2 days before the game. So I think just looking back on it, hindsight, it was the right thing to do. The next time we go, I think we'll probably do the same thing.
John, you haven't played a home game, I mean, in 4 weeks. And, I mean, does it feel that long? Does it feel longer? And how much are you looking forward to not getting on a plane for a game this weekend?
Yeah. You know, it doesn't really feel anything as far as length. It's a great question, because you just kind of take it as it comes there. I know our guys are going to be excited to be at home. That's for sure. Our fans will be excited, I think, for us to be at home. They'll be in the stadium going crazy. I know the Lions have been traveling really well. I think they've been filling up stadiums, so you know, I'm hopeful they don't fill up our stadium, you know. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, our fans are going to be loud, and they're going to be into it, and they're going to be enthusiastic, and our guys are going to be excited to play in front of our fans. I can tell you that.
John, there were a lot of teams that lost yesterday. There were several teams that lost yesterday due to last-minute kicks missing. How great is it to have a Justin Tucker to fall back on?
Well, there's nothing better in the kicking world than having Justin Tucker as your kicker in American football. I can tell you that. It's the best thing, and he's the best kicker. So, yeah, we do take him for granted sometimes, and he's not, you know, he'll be the first to tell you he's not perfect, but he's close to it. So he had a great game.
John, at the end of the half, you opted against the long field goal, and then, of course, they fumble and Delshon Phillips recovers it. What went into the decision to say, we're not going to send Tucker out there for that one?
Well, as far as the field goal part of it was, that was kind of a three-pronged decision. The field goal part of it was too far. It was just too long. The turf wasn't that. It was a little bit looser turf footing. Chances of making that were really, really nil, I mean, honestly. So the next thought would have been run the clock down to a certain number, which is about where it was, and go for it on fourth down. The idea being we can complete a pass, but we got to get out of bounds, get the time. I don't think did we have a timeout? Can't remember. I don't think we did. So you're basically going for like a free play. You get a pass interference, you catch the ball and run out of bounds. We talked about that. That would have been the aggressive play. I decided against that just because I felt like, okay, but if it doesn't work and you don't convert, now they have the same opportunity going the other way. They get a pass, you get a pass interference, or they complete one out of bounds, and now they kick the field goal. And I just wasn't willing to risk that. You know, the fact that as well as we'd played, we hadn't put as many points up as we were capable of putting up, and I didn't want to give them a free opportunity at 3 points, so I made a conservative decision to do it. And then it worked out, aggressively for us because our punt team did such a great job. I mean, great punt, and a great coverage, and then Delshon getting his first ever fumble recovery, it set up 3 points.
John, talk a lot about this being a week-to-week league, and we saw over this weekend specifically, undefeated 49ers lose to the Browns and their backup quarterback. We see the Eagles lose in a tough game against, a quote-unquote inferior opponent. Can you just talk about how hard it is to win in this league and how on you have to be as a staff and as players?
Right. Well, you just said it. I mean, I think what you said is exactly right, because the margin is not as great as it appears, or as great as it kind of, the media, naturally, we all portray it because of outcomes. The margin is very thin in this league. It's razor thin. Everybody is right around 500, or just above 500, or just below 500, in terms of talent and ability and coaching and all that other kind of stuff. So the difference is week to week. It's your ability to, persist, overcome, come up with a good game plan, execute the game plan, and then really make plays. Make plays that win games in critical situations, and that's who ends up winning the game. So, great players make great plays. So you see quarterbacks and things like that, guys like Lamar or Mahomes and those guys can make the difference in games. But, I look at Houston. We talked about them. I think everybody's saying, well, they didn't think Houston was a great team after we beat them in the opener. And I think I said, watch, they're going to win a bunch of games this year, right? Because you watched them and you knew they were going to be a good team. So that's the greatness of the NFL, I think.
All right.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, see you guys.